And how do you allow people to receive you? Because guess what? No matter how much pressure you're under, there's someone out there who is excelling being under a lot more pressure than you are. And learning how to lead when you're under pressure is a skill like anything else, and it comes with experience. But it's about knowing that you have to tread more lightly when you're feeling that pressure. You have to really pay attention to, what am I saying, how am I saying it, what are my how are my tones like, how is my volume even when I speak, what am I saying, what am I doing? And then really reflecting on, if I did not feel the pressure right now, how would I act, what would I say, how would I talk to people?
We know where the world, it chooses sides. Now, we're exploring what it means to lead with values today, not just vision, in a world that rewards visibility and quick wins. How do we stay rooted in honest trust and consistency? And Rebecca is here with us. She's a leadership coach. She's been helping and guiding decision makers across Rwanda, Africa, and beyond to lead from within. Rebecca, as you look so beautiful today, how are you doing?
I'm so good, Jesse. Thank you. You look really nice today yourself.
Thank you.
So do you, Juliana. What is this? Tuesday mornings, people are dressed up.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you? I love your mustard.
Thank you.
Why is Juliana laughing sarcastically?
I was like, remembered last. You know what I mean? Like, I was looking at you guys complimenting yourselves, and I'm like, okay, what's this?
No, she was supposed to wear a blazer today
Oh,
because
Yeah, I was supposed to.
apparently she's supposed to be at the American embassy, but I don't know what happened.
I don't know. I realized I wasn't looking good, really.
In a
Just
blazer.
a blazer adds more weight on my body, I feel. So, I don't know.
you know, you don't need a blazer to look good.
Yeah. You're right. You're right,
You just
Rebecca.
need something colorful.
No, I am good with my darkness. I am good. I love my darkness.
Let's start this conversation, Rebecca, with defining integrity. What does leading with integrity mean to you in practical terms beyond the theory? Yeah.
I love that question. Myron Golden often says we all have the same vocabulary, but we don't all have the same dictionary, meaning that we all will use the same words, but we will often have our own meaning behind it. And I feel like integrity is one of those words where we all kind of have an idea of what we mean about it, but I think very few people actually sit down and define it, right? We don't often sit down and put words on what does that mean to me. So when it comes to integrity for me, when on a personal level, it is about having congruence between the person you say you are and the person you think you are, and then the person you actually show up as. Instead of what many people do is put on a mask, right? We're putting on a mask and we're showing up having a level of confidence or appearance that doesn't necessarily match how we feel on the inside. So for me, integrity is having congruence between those two, and also having congruence with our values. Do we live in congruence in our values also when it's hard, or only when it's easy? Do we even know what our values are? But then there's also the thing when you're an entrepreneur, it can't only now be about leading with integrity in terms of who you are. It's also about what are you serving to the marketplace. So are you offering your products and your services to the marketplace from a place of wanting to serve at the highest level, focusing on what do my clients want and need? Or are you focused on what do I want to sell them? A lot of people, when they're entering entrepreneurship, is very focused on what can I sell, what can I sell, what can I sell? And it often brings kind of a negative impression on sales and entrepreneurship in general, because if you're only looking at how do I get someone to give me money, you know, then we start trying to sell something that the person doesn't necessarily need or want. We might compromise on the quality just to get things done faster, you know. So for me, integrity plays into all of this. Are you focused on providing the highest level of value possible? Are you continuously improving your business in a way that you make sure that the value that you're creating is with integrity, in quality, or are you just focused on getting the money?
Interesting. Have you had a moment in life where choosing integrity came at a cost for you, but it was still the right call?
I think it's really difficult to answer that necessarily in terms of, is there a cost? I think there's always a cost to doing the right thing at times, right? Because that also means, am I going to say no to a client where I believe that I'm not the right person for them? Or am I going to just try and sell them because I want to close that deal? It can also be even looking at what the Rwandan government did with cutting ties with Belgium, right? That you could say that that would come at a cost, because it also meant that we were going to say no to a lot of money coming into the country. But the value of that was being in alignment with our values, with the Rwandan values, you know. So when Kagame came out and he said, you know what, you guys are stepping over the boundaries that we've set. These are the things that we will and will not accept. And you're continuously trying to cross over a boundary that we've set. We will not accept this, right? That was pretty much the communication that came out. We're not accepting this. We're not accepting this. We're not accepting this. And then the Belgian government or the representatives kept pushing those boundaries. And at some point, Kagame came out and said, no, we're going to cut these diplomatic ties because you are no longer, we cannot stick to our values and continue this relationship. Now, you could say that that came with a cost, because that also stopped money from coming into the country. But then on the other hand, are your values available to be purchased like that? Are you okay with not sticking to your values? And then just allow that to be okay because money is coming in. You know, Kagame and the government here is very resourceful. They're just going to say, we'll find that money somewhere else when we can stick to our values. And for me, that was an act of integrity, because we were willing to, the government was willing to, I always say we, like I've lived here for 6 years, okay? This is us now.
You feel Rwandan. You are actually Rwandan.
You're part of it.
This is us. Yes, I am part of this, definitely. But often when I speak of, I very often bring up Kagame's leadership when it comes to value-based leadership, because I think he's just such a brilliant example of that. And I had someone recently point out, I think he's value-based, yes, but he's result-oriented as well. But for me, result orientation is a value, right? So it's still sticking to those values. And I think whenever we choose integrity, it is having the willingness to take on the cost of sticking to our values. So yes, it will come with a cost, but the benefit that it bears and brings to stick to our integrity is greater than the cost that we will have to pay.
There is this common idea that bold, aggressive leadership gets things done. And I wonder if you think integrity ever gets mistaken for weakness in business or leadership. You know, have you ever been underestimated also because you chose a more value-driven path?
Yeah, perhaps. I would say that using Kagame again as an example, I don't consider him a weak leader, and I don't think a lot of people would, even though he's very deep on integrity and bold also, and then very results oriented. You can be all of that and still be in integrity. I think when integrity is lost, it's more about, are you looking at the short-term results over the long-term sustainability? And sometimes when these very hard, cutthroat, ruthless leaders who are really fighting for those results and is willing to compromise employee wellness and health long-term in order to get those results, I don't find that to be in alignment with integrity, but I also don't find it to be sustainable over a long period of time. And there's several things with that. Nothing is ever only one thing, right? We have to look at things from a lot of different perspectives. And if you're looking at someone who's just constantly trying to push and push and push for these short-term results, you're going to see that eventually your employees get sick, they quit, they maybe get a doctor's note saying that now they have to be resting for 3 months to avoid this level of stress.
Even sometimes just forging it.
But also it's going to be really, really hard for you to attract talent.
Yes.
Right? Because people who are very, very desirable employees, they will never choose a place of employment where they feel like they're putting their health at risk, where there will not be room for them to have spare time, when they will not be able to be with their families. You might get a lot of these young people coming fresh out of school and who are very, very willing to put in a lot of hard work. But it also comes down to, who do you want to be as a leader? Do you want to be only focused on the results, or do you want to look at the health and the sustainability of your business long term? And I've just seen that the people who are very, very focused on these short-term results, cutthroat, ruthless, they compromise on a lot of other things in the way. And just saying that you have integrity and that you care about employee welfare, it doesn't mean that you don't also care about the results. It's more about how do you put your results into place from a place that allows people to be human beings, right?
Speaking of leadership, how can leaders build trust with their team or customers when they have made mistakes? Or is there the right way to actually own it and start to rebuild integrity at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that just because you make mistakes that you can't have integrity. I think the owner, you're pretty much answering the question in the question. Are you able to take accountability for the mistakes that you made? Are you able to own up to it? The place where we lose trust is when people try to pretend the mistake didn't happen or that it didn't have any consequences or trying to make it something small. Because we're all sitting there and we can tell you're lying, right? So trust comes from a place of, do you stick to your promises? Do you take ownership of the things that you do? And one thing that I see a lot of leaders are struggling with in Rwanda, anywhere, but something that's brought up often here, is that when they have a leadership team, it's really difficult for people to take ownership of their decisions. Any single decision comes with a lot of disclaimers, right? It's like we're asking, okay, head of finance, can we go ahead with this? Yes, but. And then a long list of disclaimers, and then pretty much just saying we can go ahead, but if all of this happens, it's not my fault. Right?
Does that mean that there's a little bit of micromanaging at some point up there?
I think it's less about micromanaging, and I think it's more about, are you willing to take the risk on you? Because once you say, yes, we can do that, but, and then all the disclaimers, what you're practically saying is that now it's up to the CEO to make the decision, and now it will be the CEO's fault if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Which puts, when you're a leader, you got to own your decisions. You have got, and yes, you absolutely can say, well, I've weighed the risks. And these are the risks, but in my opinion, it's safe to move forward. It would be better to move forward and take on the risk than to not take on this opportunity. That is owning it while still making sure that those disclaimers are being said, right? But if you cannot own a decision, it becomes very hard for people to respect you. You're going to lose respect of your people eventually because you don't hold that power of actually owning a decision. You don't hold the power of making a mistake. And if you've made mistakes, and you're trying to make it into a small thing, or you're trying to pretend like it didn't happen, or maybe even point fingers at other people, then people will not trust you, right? Because it's like, what are you going to do in the future? You know, especially your team. Can we trust that you will stick up for us, or are we going to risk you pointing fingers at us next time you make a mistake? So integrity for me is also owning that. Can you own your difficult decisions? Can you own the mistakes that you're making? And you can absolutely have integrity and build trust even though you make mistakes.
I want to just follow up on that question Juliana does ask on, you've made mistakes, you're trying to rebuild trust. What does that process look like?
Well, the first step is taking accountability for it. You're standing up for it, saying, yes, I know that this was a mistake. When we did this, I did not expect this to happen, but I take full ownership and full accountability for me, and I'm not going to point fingers at anyone else. This was my mistake, and it's mine to own.
Is that a report you take to the board? Is that to your team?
Both. If you own a mistake, you got to own it publicly. At least to the people that are involved.
But also, does that mean that if you own that mistake, some people would worry that if I owned the mistake and take it to the board, I would look a weakling, and so I might lose that position.
I feel like it is a lot more weak to point fingers at other people than it is to own your mistake. If you look at someone who says, yes, this was my mistake, and I've looked at what happened, and now I'm putting in measures to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So you take it seriously, right? And you own it, and you say, this is on my shoulders. But if you come to the board and you're like, no, but actually, I told a team member to do this and he didn't do it, right? Actually, it's Francois' fault. Actually, and then he told someone else and it was everybody else's fault than mine. For me, that is weakness. The weakness is not holding and owning the mistake in the first place.
Now, I'd like us to bring it down to the everyday level, Rebecca. What are those small things, small invisible decisions that show integrity even when no one is watching? I know some of these words look and sound very big. Words like accountability. When that word comes, it looks like some lingo, very big word that we might not be able to digest. Things like being sorry for mistakes and taking on ownership. To some people, it's just a big lingo. But there could be those small things that every day we can do, even when no one is watching. All right? And they play a part in how integral we are. What
Yeah.
are those?
So for me, it's about really paying attention to what is leading my actions. Where am I leading from? Even if you're not a leader of anybody else, you're always leading yourself. So am I doing this because it's easy? Am I doing this because it's comfortable? Am I doing this because I'm just doing whatever my boss told me? Or am I putting attention and intention into my work and making sure that I want the best possible result? I want my work to be the best possible work. I want to make sure that I'm constantly delivering on a higher and higher value. I'm not going to do just the easiest thing. I'm not going to do just good enough. I'm not going to do just good enough to not get fired. When I do my work, I want to make sure that it's excellent. When I'm serving my clients, I want to make sure that they're so happy. When they're reaching out and they're asking questions, I want to make sure that I communicate fast and efficiently. When they come with complaints, I want to make sure that I take them seriously. So are you doing the thing because it's just easy and comfortable for yourself? Or are you doing it because you want to do something great, not just for you, but also for the people that you're serving? And even if you don't have your own business, if you're working for somebody else, how are you representing the business? Are you doing just the bare minimum? Are you doing just, I just want to be in the mediocre pool of people who don't really get noticed, but who also doesn't get fired? Or am I striving to be excellent? Am I striving for my colleagues to have a good experience, for my business's clients to have a good experience? And I think when we're looking at customer service in general, I mean, we hear a lot about customer service in Rwanda, right? I mean, there's some improvements to be made in many organizations.
Yes.
The funny thing is, I once heard someone say, when you come to somebody's home in Rwanda, they treat you like family, right? They're so welcoming. They're making sure that you have everything that you need. They're kind. They pay attention to you.
Really?
But then you go to a restaurant and it's like they're doing you a service. Like they're doing you a favor.
They're doing you a
being there,
favor, yeah.
right?
When you're actually parting with your own money, but they're doing you a favor.
They're like, I'm doing you a favor just being here.
Yeah.
You know, what do you want, right? And it's like, and something, there's not the same attention
that we get when
taking
it's on the other side.
So we know for a fact that they have the ability to deliver service.
Sure.
But are they putting it into their workplace, or are they just doing just enough to not get fired?
But also, again, that's totally different from what maybe it's connected. And what do the business owners, how much do the business owners put into that? Because they see that happening a lot, and that has been a complaint for a very long time. But as a business owner, what effort are you doing to actually train your people to run your business the way it should be actually run in terms of customer care? Or you're just watching us and say, it's the culture, it's all right. No, it's not all right.
It's not the culture, because I mean,
it's not the culture.
If home
at
is
home
different,
it's different and you're so welcoming, and why are you allowing this happen right in your business?
So a lot of people don't know how to have difficult conversations. And I know this from myself. Right? I had to teach myself to be able to have difficult conversations, to be able to confront someone, but also to learn how to use a language where they understand why I'm bringing this up. So I don't come from a place of, what are you doing? Are you a complete idiot? You know, how can't you see? It's like, hey, I would like to have a conversation with you about how we greet our clients. The way that I would like it done in our establishment is that you do this and this and this and this. And if you have any questions about this, come to me. We're going to make sure that we're just keeping an eye on how the service is being done in our establishment. And I'm going to be here to just notice. And when I bring things up, it's because I want to help you improve your customer service. You know, and then have the conversation like that. I think so many people are terrified of having difficult conversations because the conversations that they knew as difficult growing up was someone scolding them, right? Someone who is being very, uncomfortable with them. And then we think if we bring up a difficult conversation that we're going to hurt people, they're going to have their emotions hurt. But there's a way of doing it that you can make sure that they understand also why are we having this conversation, and knowing that I want you to have the tools so that you can do the best possible work while you're working with me. And that's going to benefit both of us.
I know business can be very stressful. I mean, I've been there, I've done that. I've run away from it, gotten back to it. Business is very stressful. Tight deadlines, you got tough clients, tough conflicts. How do you stay grounded in your values, even when the pressure is really on?
I think when the pressure's on, it is the most important that you stick to your values, because it's easy to stick to your values when there's no pressure, right? Who you are when you're under pressure says a whole lot more than who you are when you have
When
no
things are just
pressure.
easy.
When it's easy. So I always talk about how leadership is the most important when it feels the most difficult. So are you able to communicate with a calm, clear head when you're feeling the pressure? Are you able to respect your employees when you're having a bad day? Or are you just able to communicate right now, I'm facing some things. It will be better for us to have this conversation tomorrow. Even that is a whole lot better than coming in and yelling at people. Now, I know personally, when I'm hungry, I'm not supposed to have conversation, right? Because there's just no way I'm going to be respectful to the person I'm talking to.
When you're hungry, when you're angry.
When I'm hangry, hungry makes me angry,
Okay, I get it.
right? So when I'm hungry and someone brings something to my attention, I have enough composure to say, this is not the best time for us to have this conversation. Can we please wait until I've had something to eat?
Yeah.
And even just knowing myself well enough to say that, and it's also setting a boundaries. Like, I really want to be here for this conversation, but I also want to be in a place where I can actually hear what it is that you're saying. So can we please do this at this and this and that time? If I'm hungry, let's wait until I had something to eat. Maybe I'm going through something personal, right? Maybe it's death in the family. Maybe it's a divorce. Maybe it's, a health scare. Maybe there can be so many things that impact us as human beings. And what people very often forget is that leaders are also human beings.
They have things they're struggling with.
They have things that they're struggling with, and they have pressure at work, and they have, emotions and feelings and difficulty just as anyone else. But how do you communicate to someone, I want to be there for you right this hour is not it, right? Or even ask, can you tell me at what level is this a priority? Is the building on fire? Maybe I'm going to have to put aside my personal emotions for long enough to handle this. But is it a question that is not super urgent? Can we do this tomorrow? Or can we do this later in the day? Whatever it is. It's really about understanding that who you're talking to is also a human being, and they also deserve the best of you, even when you don't feel like the best of you.
Somebody told me that everything said and done, sometimes you really feel the pressure to play the game instead of staying true to your values. How would you advise a person like that? When you pressure to just play the game, I said, just play the game.
But for me, you shouldn't play a game that's not aligned with your values. At all. Ever.
Values first.
Even when the pressure is intense.
Also, especially when the pressure is intense. Imagine if I know we're talking a lot about the
flow. Go with the flow.
No. I mean,
you're not here
People
to
tend to
invent
make
things.
irrational decisions when the pressure is on.
yeah. So it's also about, is this the best place for you to make the decision? Are you in a place to make a good, strong, long-term decision right now? Or should you wait with that decision until you've had something to eat or calm down, or that you've...
Yeah.
And it's also with, if you're having some sort of emotional, encounter. Let's say that you and your spouse is having an argument, and you really want to bring something up they did 3 years ago, right? Ask yourself, is this the right time and space for me to bring this up? Will this be received in the way that actually brings us forward, or do I just want to get stuff off of my chest right now? So whenever you want to do something moving forward, if you're in a place where you're feeling very emotional, the best thing that you can do is to almost like cut off communication, right? This is not the right time for me to talk to you.
Down, yeah.
Until you calm down. And then once you've calmed down, that's when you're going to look at, okay, is this the best long-term thing to say? All right, am I bringing things up because they actually move us forward, or do I just want to kind of poke somebody, right? Am I making this decision from a place that it will have a long-term positive impact, or am I making it right now because I'm feeling emotional? So it's also really about knowing ourselves well enough to see, am I able to act from alignment with my values right now? Or is there a risk that I'm going to say something that doesn't serve us, do something that doesn't serve us? And if so, how will I communicate that I need to step back for a moment before we continue?
So for Rebecca, you want to confirm to me that if I were to come to you for a conversation, she'd find you after lunch or after you're done with your milkshake?
Make sure she has eaten something.
Make sure, well, I will make sure that I'm not hungry, right? If you come to me with a conversation that's difficult and I can sense that it's difficult and I am starving, I'm going to do you the favor of saying, can we wait an hour?
Can we push this?
Because I need to eat. You know, I know myself that well. And if you came to me, and as I said, if the building is on fire and needs something very, very urgently, I have the capacity to not let that feeling of just being hungry and angry take over control. But I would prefer to just have something to eat before we move forward, right? But coming back to what you said before, should we just play the game or should we act in accordance with our values? Imagine one day that the president comes out and he says, oh, I made a bad mistake and I didn't act in alignment with our values because I was having a bad day.
It's hard to reverse.
I would be like, what in the world?
Yeah,
That
I
is
know.
not how he is, right? We have really high expectations of him. But also he has continuously shown that he's able to live up to really high expectations, right? And he's very, very strong on integrity and very strong on values. So just saying that, oh, but I was under a lot of pressure. Yeah, but who are you when you're under a lot of pressure? That is what is going to set you apart from the people who are just going to use pressure as an excuse, right? I will definitely sometimes tell my partner, I'm sorry for what I said when I was hungry. But every single time I'm hungry, I'm going to try to do better because I know it's something that I need to work on, right? But it's just an example.
Yeah.
I also think about who am I when I'm hungry and working on having integrity.
I think it's just not an example, Rebecca. I think it's in real I think this hunger issue gets you make wrong decisions. So you have learned how to control your when you're in that situation.
I am learning.
Yeah.
But similarly, when you're under a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
who are you when you're under pressure? How do you talk to people? How do you make decisions? How do you stay aligned with your integrity, with your values? And how do you allow people to receive you? Because guess what? No matter how much pressure you're under, there's someone out there who is excelling being under a lot more pressure than you are. And learning how to lead when you're under pressure is a skill like anything else, and it comes with experience. But it's about knowing that you have to tread more lightly when you're feeling that pressure. You have to really pay attention to, what am I saying? How am I saying it? What are my how are my tones like? How is my volume even when I speak? What am I saying? What am I doing? And then really reflecting on, if I did not feel the pressure right now, how would I act? What would I say? How would I talk to people? And then stay in alignment with that. Instead of just saying, oh, but I'm sorry for what I said when I was under pressure.
I'd like to appreciate you so much, Rebecca, for always bringing the A game to this conversation.
Thank you.
Always on time, always well prepared, always looking so cool. I'd like to appreciate your powerful insights today. If you're listening and you've ever felt like the right way is the hard way, remember, integrity may not always be loud, but it is very lasting. And that's why you can hear Rebecca today mention His Excellency many times, because over time he's proven that you can count on him. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for sharing your wisdom this morning.
Thank you, Jesse.
Kigali in the morning at 10 minutes after 9 o'clock. The news is coming up next, and then we'll proceed into much more of today's best music.